Now I'm going to look sad the whole time.
Why?
Because I'm looking down at the monitor.
I can't see anything. I'm going to be like this.
I got to remember to keep my chin up.
Cheer up.
Makes your jawline look better.
Yeah.
Cheer up.
I need to like suck in my cheeks.
What do they call it? Mewing to make your jawline. Have you seen that?
No.
You haven't?
Is that where you suck your cheeks in?
Heard, no, you haven't heard. It's like you say mew or something and it like
Mew.
pokes your chin out. Mewing.
Mew.
Y'all haven't heard about that?
No, I've never heard of it.
I can't see
mewing.
it.
This
I
is
can't
going to be the
see
intro
it.
of the podcast, so I like it.
I'm
I
pretty
can't
sure it's called mewing.
I can't see my
Mewing
jawline
helps
from the
your
microphone.
jawline.
Put it in the chat if you know what mewing is.
I may have just made that up. To be
I'm
honest with you.
Mewing.
gonna lean over towards
I mean,
Dennis.
say mew
and then I'm
very,
gonna
like-
mew, and then you see what
Very-
happens.
They're just talking.
One. Yeah, we're all talking at the same time.
You have no clue what's being said.
Mew.
Yeah, it looks good.
How'd my jawline look?
Yeah, it looks fantastic.
Mew. I thought you were like supposed
I
to
think it works.
suck your cheeks in.
I'm tired of you saying that phrase.
Like your
Oh,
the
man.
Zoolander thing.
No, I like mewing
We're
better.
not recommending watching inappropriate movies like that, but
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 38
sounds right.
of the Shop Podcast.
Yeah,
It's happening.
we're almost over the hill.
Well done.
We did it. We did it.
We've made it.
We made it.
Well
We
done.
made it. And,
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes after this one.
Yeah, we have a guest on today.
Yep.
You've heard his voice. He knows about mewing. He
Yep.
came here to talk about mewing.
Professional mewer.
Professional.
Yep. He's currently hiding behind the coffee table.
I think you can see me. I needed a booster seat.
This is our first non-staff member on the
Yeah.
podcast.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Do you want to clap us in?
Right now.
I think you're the
Wow.
only other person that's done this.
Are we
besides
ready?
Me.
Clapped.
Episode 38. Take 1004.
Boom.
Boom. There we
We're
go.
in.
That's what I'm talking
We're
about.
in. Dennis
was,
Blackerby.
That was a sufficient clap.
That was very nice.
I practiced.
Dennis Blackerby on the podcast. Recent. How long have you been pastor?
Right at 8 months now,
This is the
Oh,
first
wow.
lead pastor on the podcast
That's
as
what I'm
well.
talking about.
and probably the worst.
Well,
Well, and best.
And best.
And most mediocre.
Anything.
podcast just went up in intelligence, probably up in views. We don't know yet.
Up in squats,
Yeah.
Mewing.
And bench press.
mewing.
What's your 300 still? The number?
I don't know. I kind of hurt my shoulder, so we're probably more
Mm.
270,
Mm.
275.
Weak. Oh, man.
Weak. Very
Yeah.
weak. I know. It's
That's
embarrassing.
what girls bench press.
That's what, no offense to the females.
but I'm weak. Man. No, it's nice to be on.
Oh, yeah, dude.
We're glad to
Long
have
time
you.
listener. First time
Yeah.
talker.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, welcome.
Yeah. Jason's normally the one who runs with the conversation, so I'll let Jason do his thing.
I wanted to add some asthma to this real quick.
Asthma.
You could hear me
Asthma.
sipping.
Asthma.
It's popular.
Hey, in current events, Tanner and I did survive our trip to Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, we did. Yeah, we
And,
did. Barely.
Yeah.
If you're ever around Jason while he's eating french fries, just go ahead and leave the room.
Look, I have a technique, and it is efficient. But Tanner does not enjoy it.
What is it?
He got out of the van and would not sit in the van with me while I ate my french fries.
It's the worst, dude. It's the worst.
I'll let Tanner describe it since I didn't even know it was happening.
So,
That's just how I eat fries.
you know, typically a french fry is like too long to fit in your mouth.
Yes.
So you have to do something to get it to fit in your mouth. And so Jason's method to do that is like he has a hand. You normally don't eat just one french fry at a time. So he has like a few fries in his hand, 3 or 4. And to get them to fit in his mouth, rather than like, I don't know, like bite once and they like fold, like he chews them into his mouth. So it's like,
Oh, like Letty and the Tramp with spaghetti.
like it reminds me of Bugs Bunny eating carrots. And you can just hear it. It was silent in the van, and you just hear Jason over there going.
I was
And I
just
looked.
enjoying my fries.
Ketchup or no ketchup?
No, we didn't have ketchup.
Just dry fry.
Yeah.
we got it from Wendy's, and it was very warm in that Wendy's. There was a man outside laying in the grass without a shirt on with an ambulance around him. We don't know what the story was there.
He ate his french fry wrong.
But there was a lady who came up to the desk was asking how long it was going to be until she got her baked potato, and they told her an hour at Wendy's
For a baked
for a
potato?
baked
Yeah.
potato. Yeah,
She proceeded to use some choice words.
yeah, she did.
And then
She
they
did.
gave her some extra nuggets.
I don't want to justify choice words, but it is ridiculous that they told her an hour until she got her baked potato.
I think it's ridiculous that Wendy's is where you go to order a baked potato.
Where else can you get one that quickly?
Today on the podcast, we are talking about how to lead well, and Jason and I are not good at it.
Whatever.
So we brought you on to discuss how. I got to be honest. The list of ideas came from a former student of yours.
Oh, really?
We texted him and we said, "Hey, like, what is Dennis passionate about? What would he love to talk about?"
Okay.
And this person referenced the leadership program you had while you were a youth pastor at IBC.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that, like, I bet he would talk about that.
Oh, well, shout out to that student. They
Yeah.
obviously don't know me very well.
Yeah.
They think I'm a good leader. No, leadership is something that early on for me, I got thrown into ministry, maybe is a good word, at a very young age. I was 19 in full-time student ministry, pastoring people that were, just like a year or two removed from me. And I knew as a young person, my ability to lead was going to be very stretched. And so from the beginning of my ministry, I was interested in leadership. And then my philosophy in student ministry and now just in church-wide ministry is develop leaders and equip them to go and develop other leaders.
Yeah.
And we did have a ministry specifically for that at Emmanuel, and I think it is key, man. I think our church is desperate for leaders, and so my passion in student ministry was definitely raising up leaders. I have no idea who told you that, but I'm sure that they went through that leadership podcast or program, and hopefully they benefited from it.
Yeah, they did for sure. And I think we see the fruits of that in their life at the moment. So I had a question. I can't remember what it was. Your leadership program. Jason and I talk about this often, and there's a phrase I'm stealing from a podcast I was listening to. But that equip the saints for the work of the ministry. That it's easy to fall into a rut that we're going to do the ministry for our people.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're they show up on a Thursday night and we're gonna do ministry to you. We're going to preach to you. We're going to lead worship for you. We hope you'll sing along. We hope you'll attend. But the goal of everything that we do is to equip you to do ministry. Do ministry. The quote that I was going to steal, we want to do ministry through people, not to people.
That's good.
And so to prepare people to be leaders. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've had many conversations about that recently, and I know that's something that I struggle with because I don't know if it's I just feel like I need to have control of all aspects of it, or if I feel some sort of responsibility, like if I don't do it, then not that nobody else will, but like I'm the one that's supposed to do it, and if I don't do it, then I'm not doing my job.
Right.
Like if I don't do it myself. And so just kind of some of the conversations we've had recently, I don't think that's the biblical model for sure.
Yeah.
No.
And I mean, just to speak to your abilities that we've seen too, and I know you're humble and all that kind of stuff, and you're going to say that's not me or whatever, but like I've been around you as you led camps and other events and stuff like that, and you do model that leadership, and so I think you're an excellent person to be here speaking with us about it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, fellas.
Yeah. We're at I don't know what you were about to say. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. We're at I feel like a really cool moment, an era in the shop, to use a Taylor Swift word, where we have
I don't
some.
think she owns that word.
Do what?
I don't think she owns that word.
She bought it.
She definitely did.
Yeah.
She purchased it.
She bought it. Where we have some really good leaders in the shop. That is and by leader, I mean like some of them are leading now. Some of them we see the potential to lead very soon. And in that way, I would say they are leading now. But they're doing well. They have a desire to follow the Lord. They have a desire to know Scripture. They have a desire to spend time in the presence of the Lord, and they want to see the shop grow, and they want to see the shop reach the nations with the gospel. But at the same time, we're about to invite in and welcome in a probably one of the biggest groups of graduating seniors that we've ever had.
Yeah,
For Senior Sunday yesterday, just to brag on our youth ministry, we had 30,
35, I think.
30
was the,
yeah,
Holy cow.
35
That's
participate in Senior Sunday. And so in a very real way, they have a brand new group about to come in that they're going to have the opportunity to lead. And so that's why we wanted to have this conversation with you guys. One, because we have Dennis on the podcast, and we knew he would speak to this well too, because this is an opportunity that we feel like an opportunity to lead is on the horizon for many of you.
Yeah.
And so we could begin with this question. Does everybody have the capability to lead?
That's a great question, and I think that's a yes and no answer. Where I go back to this idea of leadership is a commandment from Jesus, the Great Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a command for all who believe. And it says, go, therefore, and make disciples. And we've Americanized discipleship as in, if you will come and you will attend and you will participate in programs, we're making a disciple out of you. But when Jesus said, go and make disciples, they would immediately thought about how they just followed him for 3 years.
Yeah.
And he led them in every single aspect. They had a saying back then to walk in the dust of your rabbi, which literally meant you followed this leader so closely in everything that they did that the dust of their sandals would come up and cover you. And so the idea to make disciples in its very core is to lead people well. It is to lead people in a way of life. And so at the greatest commission we have from Jesus Christ is an expectation for us to be able to lead people. And so I think there's an expectation of Jesus on us as believers to be leaders. So yes, everybody can be a leader. The no side of that is, are you mature enough, faithful enough, and prepared enough to lead people? When Jesus gave that command to be leaders and make disciples, he was giving it to people who he had trained for 3 years. I think everybody can be a leader, yes, but before you jump to being a leader that makes disciples, first make sure you are following a leader that makes disciples. Because they would have learned leadership from Jesus. And in turn, that's how they're going to turn and lead people. And so I think I think great leaders understand that, but great leaders are led by great leaders. And so to be a leader is to first be led.
Do you think it comes easier for some than others?
No doubt. People are drawn to certain people. And so you have a very people person, a very bubbly personality, a very extroverted person. It's easy for you to get people to follow you because they're naturally drawn to you. That also doesn't excuse those of us that maybe people are not drawn to not be a leader.
Right.
Just because it isn't easy doesn't mean it's not a part of my faithfulness to the Lord.
Gotcha.
You know, like people might be drawn to me, but there's aspects of leadership that I'm not drawn to. You know, it's more than just the people. And so obviously there's going to be aspects of leadership that come more natural to others. Some people are a great behind the scenes leader when it comes to organization, logistics, administration. Some people are a natural born leader. They just know how to rally people. It's certain aspects of leadership that come easier to others. But I think every leader is going to struggle in being a leader at some aspect.
So a leader doesn't mean that you have to have like people that report to you necessarily. It doesn't mean you have to be on a stage. It doesn't mean you have to be like out in front of everybody.
You know, I think this is a great time to define leadership. And by define leadership is not me saying, this is the Webster Dictionary. This is my definition of leadership.
We use Oxford.
Sorry. Okay. I use Wikipedia, but okay. So according to Wikipedia in my brain, I would define leadership, and I think this frees us up from the worry of like people following you or holding a position, or you think leader, you think qualified and educated, older, whatever. I would define leadership in one word, and that one word would be influence.
Okay. That's good.
Leadership is influence. And I think in our culture today, we don't have to work very hard to define the word influence.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you ask, can I be a leader? Who can lead? The bottom line is everyone has influence over someone.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say the leadership in your life is how you choose to use your influence.
That's good.
That's good. I
That's
like
good.
that.
Yeah.
Everybody has the
Yeah.
ability to influence someone, something, somewhere at some time.
Yeah.
And how do I use my influence? And so specifically for the life of a believer, how do I use my influence for the glory of God to make disciples in his church?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's leadership.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And
I like that.
You're talking about the in the dust of the rabbi and going back to make disciples. I think we've often simplified that to be like sharing the gospel, but I think the call to make disciples may be a little bit more than that. I think it definitely includes sharing the gospel, but I think it's inviting somebody. It's the Apostle Paul, follow me as I follow Jesus. Like, hey, come sit with me and watch me as I follow Christ. Like, the command doesn't just stop with handing out a tract, although that is a part of it. The command doesn't just stop with quoting the Roman road, although that is a part of it. I do believe we're all commanded in a sense to be a leader, in the sense that we invite people to come alongside us and we show them how to follow Jesus. Yeah.
If you go back to the Great Commission,
Right.
I mean, it's teaching them to observe all things that
Yeah.
I have committed to you. So,
Yep.
yeah, goes much further than just, all right, we've checked your box.
Yep.
You're saved.
Yep. Yeah.
Get on out of here.
Yeah.
And using the word influence really opens it up now to fit your personality.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So what are the capacities I have to influence people? Not how can I lead people, but what are the areas, opportunities, capacities I have to influence people?
Yeah.
If I'm an athlete, I have the ability to influence athletes. If I'm a gamer, I can use my influence. If I'm a sibling, I can use my influence, right? If I'm a coworker, I can use my influence. If I'm a worship leader, I can use my influence. It's, okay, what are the areas, the actions, the opportunities I have where there's no doubt I have influence in this space, I make a difference. And so how do I use my influence in this space to lead people well?
Yeah.
I like
And,
that.
and our culture is fascinated with being an influencer right now. That is the fascination. Everybody wants to have the YouTube following and the social media following so that you can be an influencer. And the only reason why we call those guys influencers or women influencers is because we buy what they wear and we talk how they talk. And that's who we have been called to be in the culture. That people would begin to watch us and imitate us. Yeah. That's so good. So within this, let me ask: and I think we've already answered this, but just to kind of clarify, is everyone called to be a leader? If everyone's capable,
100%. I don't know how you look at the command, make disciples, and not draw from that, I'm going to have to lead people.
Yeah.
The scary thing in that is that when I learn that I need to be a leader to people to make disciples, I'm immediately going to think about leaders in my life.
Yeah.
And fear that I can't lead like them.
Mm-hmm.
But you study the New Testament fathers, they all made disciples a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Some of them used a fishing boat. Some of them used tent making.
Right.
Some of them used their abilities, their personalities. They went to different locations.
Yeah.
And so there's a quote out there that goes something like, don't judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you can't judge your leadership ability on Tanner's leadership ability.
Yeah.
Because how he's going to influence and lead people, or how Jason's going to influence or lead people, is going to be differently than how I am or how you are am. And so we're all going to make disciples, but that process might look a little different for everybody.
Yep.
But everybody is called to do that according to their influence, their lane, their space, their context.
Yeah.
So how would you say that you go about like determining what your strengths are in that? Like if I was going to try to figure out how best for me to lead people, how would I figure that out? If I'm not going to compare myself to someone else and try to lead like they lead, what's our foundation there? How do we figure that out?
I know for me, it goes back to being led well first.
Mm-hmm.
And we're lucky enough to have the leadership of the Holy Spirit and
Mm-hmm.
His Word in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that the Bible is not just this grand story of the redemptive plan of God, it's also a bunch of little stories of everyday, ordinary people, different people who led in very different ways.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so, man, I would go to the Word and I would look at how people led other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How did Deborah, as a mother of Israel, lead?
Mm-hmm.
How did Joshua, as a warrior, lead? How did David, as a musician, lead? How did Jesus, as a carpenter, lead? How did Paul, as a religious expert, lead? And what you're going to find is, if you study Scripture with its actual voice, you're going to find some commonalities with certain leaders.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know many people that their leadership requires them to speak, and they don't like speaking. You don't relate to Moses,
Mm-hmm.
who had a speech issue, and he's like, Lord, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
But yet you still see how God used that to lead, right?
Yeah.
Or it's maybe you lead somewhere and you're not the boss, but you still have to lead. And so you watch Aaron as he led and second in command, right?
Yeah.
Or you're young, and one for me, and I'll probably reference it a lot, is Joshua.
Yeah.
You're young and you're in this transition, and all of a sudden you're in the place where you have to lead.
Right.
And so I think a great starting point is look at leaders in Scripture, and then find your commonalities and play to your strengths. You know, I don't think I've got to work just on my leadership strengths. I think I want to lead through what I know I'm already good at,
Mm-hmm.
and then grow in some areas that I'm weak to.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I like that.
I just want to mention briefly, you mentioned Deborah. Deborah led by driving a tent stake through someone's head at one point.
Pretty intense.
So
Got that?
See what you did there.
that was fantastic.
Oh,
That was
man.
nice. That was nice.
I like that.
What steps did you take to grow as a leader?
There's the cliche, leaders are readers.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Jason
so-
loves reading. We talk about this often. Jason's a big time reader.
Hey, look, I actually read a book.
Yeah, he loved it.
Did you really?
Recently.
He loved it.
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing.
So I have read. There's all kinds of great books out there. One of my favorite authors on leadership is John Maxwell,
Mm-hmm.
and you know he's
He's
got
written a few books.
just a few. He's kind of up and coming author. Really, he's not very well published. He's got all kinds of great stuff out there. Craig Rochelle has a podcast called Leadership. But what I wanted to do is, I made myself kind of vulnerable and connected myself to people who I thought led well. And we're like, man, I want to watch them. I want to learn from them. I think a great example of that, and I just said I would go to it, is Joshua.
Mm-hmm.
Joshua was called to lead the people of Israel after Moses' death, but he was faithful long before that season. And one of the things we see Joshua always doing is following Moses as closely as he possibly could.
Yeah.
You could tell that he felt a sense of God's call of leadership on his life. And so he would watch Moses as Moses would stand before the people and be a mediator. He would wait on Moses as he went up to the mountain. He would sit outside the tent of meeting. Like, what he was doing there, one was a desire to be in the presence of God, but also as close to good leaders as he can be. You know, one of the beautiful parts about leadership is not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
It's just learning how that wheel fits on my car.
Right.
And Josh was a great example of like, okay, this guy somehow managed 40 years in the wilderness of people who were backslidden and disobedient to the Lord, and he's still faithfully leading them. I want to learn what he's doing, so when it's my time to come, I already have a basis and a principle that I can apply to where I'm at. No, their jobs were totally different.
Yeah.
One was to wander, and one
Right.
was to fight.
Right.
But the principles that he learned from Moses applied even to his space. And so, man, I would say connect yourself to other leaders. I don't know a great leader out there that's not willing to help other people be a better leader.
Yeah, that's good.
Connect
That's good.
yourself to other leaders, read what you can, and then lead where you're at.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Lead
Yep.
where you're already at is the
Yep.
biggest one for me.
Yep.
So much of like what I do now, I began doing and having the disciplines to do long before I was in the position I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
If you try to have the disciplines of a leader after you become a quote unquote leader, it's gonna be too late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Faithful in the small things.
Faithful in the small things. You know, I'm thinking about King David, who was faithful when he was just a shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
I think about Joseph, who was faithful when he was just taking care of his brothers, when he was in a pit, when he was serving Potiphar. If you're faithful to God, he will no doubt increase your influence. Yeah. But you have influence now.
Yeah.
How can I lead? And that, you know what that might mean? That might mean getting a pet dog. I mean, honestly, getting a pet dog and train it to sit, to stay, to go, to run, to fetch. You're going to learn leadership principles like patience and discipline and communication just through having a dog. Yeah. Or, you know, maybe right now you've got a busy life and one day you're going to be a leader and have to schedule things. Start a calendar right now where you schedule out your day. Mm-hmm. Where you're at, you have the ability to practice. And if you'll start those disciplines now and be faithful in those small things, as much more comes, you've already equipped yourself to handle those situations as a leader.
Yeah. We've said before, prepare now for the influence God may give you tomorrow. You mentioned surround yourself with good leaders, and so let's. And you've answered this question already too. But how do we know when somebody's a good leader? How do we know what that looks like?
I think you know when you're around a good leader because you will have felt influenced by them.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Their presence has moved you or motivated you or shifted you or challenged you in some way. Yeah. Like when you're around good leaders, you're like, I'll follow that guy. Yeah. Or I'll follow her. She's got me motivated. Right. You just feel shifted and influenced by good leaders, and you can tell when you're around them. They're normally one of the hardest workers in the room. Mm-hmm. They're not afraid to roll their sleeves up and be the first to move a chair, to dig a trench, to volunteer. Good leaders are leading from the front, not the back, and you see that. I think you know you're around a good leader when you see somebody who just has a desire to serve. Yeah. Great leaders want to see things done, and they don't care who gets the glory for it. Yeah. And you'll see them serving. You will probably have felt served by someone. Right. If you're around someone and you feel like, man, they just did that for me. Yeah. You most likely were just in the presence of a good leader. Yeah.
Yeah. We just had a conversation last night at the house. It was my son and my wife, and I don't know what got us on the conversation, but we were talking about one of the administrators in the school district that Emmett knew, and they were just talking about how they liked this guy and how he did things, and kind of what the conversation moved to was that this particular administrator, he was he was strict. He enforced the rules. But he did it in such a way where when he had to do that, even if he was from a disciplinary standpoint, that person felt like they were being disciplined because he cared for them, not because he was, just trying to make them feel bad or whatever. And so, what do you think, like, the role of like compassion and caring for others plays in being a good leadership? How much of that factors into that?
Yeah, I think
when you talked about serving, so that kind of thought.
When you lead people, when you're a leader, you can't lead people without people. Bottom line, I'm not a leader of people unless I have people around me. And I think people want to follow a leader where they feel the leader values them as a person more than the leader values their position. Right. Leaders need certain positions. Great leaders love the people in those positions. And so I think to be a great leader is, hey, you're in my life in this position, but even if you take that position away, I still love the person that you are.
That's good.
Because it's very easy as a leader to just surround yourself and lead people that you have a necessity for. Like, I need these employees, or I need these friends, or I need these people. But a leader that actually impacts people, they're not just a necessity to you. Like they're your pride and joy to love and to serve and to cherish and to protect and to equip. And they need to know, like, I'm not just another position or friend or check mark. Like, they value me as a person, and that's when you get buy-in.
Yeah.
When it's like,
Yeah.
he's not just leading me because it's the position I'm in. He's leading me because person to person, he loves me. They love me.
Yeah.
Right. I think those type of people too, they display to me at least that they have a better understanding of like how the body of Christ functions, like how the church functions, and how we as a group of believers function. We've been talking about this a little bit in Life Group, that not like a country club type situation, but as a body, like if I'm a hand or a foot or whatever, even if I happen to be the brain of the operations,
Mm-hmm.
I still know the value of my foot and my hand and those and take care of them accordingly. So,
Well, part of leadership is exercising your spiritual gifts. And when Paul writes to the church at Corinth and he corrects them in their exercising of their gifts, the thing he says, hey, the greatest is love.
Yeah.
That you all are desiring to lead, and you think to lead you need the flashy gifts.
Yep.
And he says, no, the ones that are going to make the difference are the ones who cherish the gift of love. And so, I think a great principle is like, if you want to lead people, the starting place is learn to love people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love people,
Yeah.
then lead them.
What does Jesus say? The Gentiles lord it over them, but in the kingdom of God, he that's first will be last, last will be first. Like the leader is going to place himself as the servant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's going to choose to take on the role of the servant. In the outside of the kingdom, the Gentiles, like you want to be the one on the throne, but in the kingdom of God, you want to be like you mentioned a moment ago. You want to be the one stacking chairs.
Yep.
Yeah, you want to be the one with the mop in your hand. Yeah.
Jesus exemplifies that leadership in the upper room.
Yep.
John 13 says he loved those who are his very own, and he loved them until the very end.
Yeah.
So he girds himself and washes their feet.
Yeah.
That's leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership is got to be stemmed from a love for people. And the point you quit loving people, your leadership is going to shift to a very unbiblical model.
Yeah.
I lead people because I love people.
Yeah.
And the moment I quit loving the people I lead, I need to step back.
Yeah.
And think, okay, well, I'm leading for the wrong reason. Because I think you either lead because you love yourself or you lead because you love others.
Yeah.
At any given time.
Yep.
Why am I trying to be a leader? Because I want to raise myself, or because I want to lower myself and serve others?
Right. And an area where I've been challenged lately is the question of like, do I actually love people, or am I trying to use people? Am I leading these people because I care for them and love them, or am I leading these people so that the shop would grow, and then in turn my name would grow? And so that's just an area that has challenged me. Like, what's your motive in all this? Like whenever it comes to leading others, making disciples, the goal's not your name. The goal's not your fame. The goal is to lead and love others. Where do you see leaders getting it wrong? And I think you mentioned most of these.
Yeah, you asked that question, and I thought that was a great question. And one of the ones I already wrote down, we did talk about. I think we get it wrong when our leadership becomes more about our position, and less about our people.
Yeah, yeah.
God places you in a position of influence to influence the people. And the moment we lose sight of the people and we care more about our position, then it's our throne.
Yeah.
And it's our kingdom at that point. And so I think we get it wrong because we do have a desire to be known. We all want to be known. We all want to be an influencer. We all want a following. We want the blue check mark. And so in our pride and in our flesh and its weakness is a desire for power.
Yeah.
Is a desire for position. And so some people sign up for leadership just so that they can have power.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how wars get started, you know?
Right.
Or so that they can have position, or just so that they can simply have the title, right? You know, and I just went through a season of a title change, quote unquote. That shouldn't change my leadership at all.
Right.
And I think we get it wrong when we desire to be a leader so that we can have the title. a small group leader or lead pastor, whatever that means, right? Or manager or boss or CFO or, assistant to the regional manager, whatever, And so I think we get it wrong when leadership is about position, power, or title rather than people.
Yeah.
Leadership has got to be about influencing people.
Yep. That's good. That's so good. One last question, unless Jason has one.
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll see.
Think of another one.
We'll see. This is the last one I sent you, Dennis. What would you say to the people who just don't feel ready? Like, you've mentioned that everyone's called to be a leader. They're just like, I don't know if that's me. I don't think I am. Like, I would rather just be the quiet guy, quiet girl that shows up faithfully. But it's not. I'm not looking to make an influence or have an influence. What would you say to that person?
Great question. One, like I said, your call to lead looks different than mine.
Yeah.
And remember that. Everybody's call to lead looks absolutely, totally different. I think about men in my life who led me. They never taught a Sunday school class.
Yeah.
They never preached a sermon. They never did a podcast. They never sang a song. They never stood up in front of a large group of people. But what they did do is love me and walk beside me. Gave me opportunities, whether it was to go hunting with them, to get in a boat and go fishing with them, to come have dinner with them, to go work on something with them, to work out with them. And they quietly set an example. Leadership is more about our actions than our words. And so if you're worried about getting in front of having to speak, your actions shout leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Lead through what you do and who you are first.
Yeah.
And not what you say.
Yeah.
And then if you're scared, like, man, I don't know where to start. I think we've already covered this, but I would say start small.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's kind of silly to think about getting a dog, but I mean, if you've never trained a hunting dog or potty trained a puppy, you do learn a lot of leadership principles.
Yeah.
Patience, love, timing, care, scheduling. Start small. You probably have a little cousin or a sibling or a friend. Just pick one way. Like, hey, I'm going to set an example of intentionally reading scripture around this person that I'm around all the time.
Yeah.
That's going to influence them.
Yep.
Start small and be very patient, because what I've learned and noticed in leadership is that small influences over a long period of time make big changes.
Yeah.
I think when we have a call to lead, it's very easy to be like, all right, well, you need to start a small group right now, or you need to start preaching right now. It's like, no, what if I just did small little things consistently and faithfully over a long period of time, and that influence shifted the trajectory of somebody's life.
Yeah.
Start small and be faithful.
Yep.
And I think those small opportunities create big change when you're just consistent in them around the people.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, be willing to be led well.
Yeah.
Be willing to be
Yep.
usually the best leaders are the best followers.
Yeah.
They learned it from somewhere, from someone at some time. So start small, be humble, and be willing to be led well. And as you're led well, use those principles to lead others well.
Yep. It's good. It's good. Jason, did you think of anything?
I did not.
Yeah. Dennis, do you have any other further thoughts on leadership you want to toss in there?
Man, I feel like I'm not that good of a leader.
No, whatever.
I did write one thing
I think
down.
which, by the way, is I think a good quality in a leader.
It makes me lean on other leaders.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yeah.
And I think that is a good quality. We didn't really talk about it, but delegation as a leader.
Yeah.
Great leaders know your weaknesses, and so you surround yourself with people that's their strength.
Right.
It's like, I'm not good at this. I need to surround myself with somebody who is.
Right.
Moses said, I'm not good at speaking, but my brother is. He's coming with me to Pharaoh.
Yeah.
So just surround yourself. But this is something I read forever ago. This is the last thing I'll say about being a good leader. Know where you're going. Know why you're going there.
Mm-hmm.
Know who you're taking with you. and know how to help them get there.
That's good.
I like that.
I've tried to live by that. Know where I'm headed. Know what my purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
Know why that's my purpose. Know who I'm taking with me along that journey, and be ready to help them go there with me. I think that's just kind of my tagline. I've got that wrote down in my office, actually. My why and my what first.
Yeah.
And then my people and how I'm going to help them go there with me.
I like that.
And we're just walking alongside it together and,
Yep.
and hopefully leading them well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're leading well. Appreciate your example
Yes,
in the
sir.
kingdom, example in the churches, specifically around us. And yeah. Appreciate all you do.
Well, thanks
Yeah.
for having me on. This
Of
was
course.
good. The coffee and the conversation was
You
good.
know.
Coffee and the conversation.
Y'all have
Talking
got to
about-
go mewing after this to work on your jawline.
Dude, I'm going to be all day today.
Have you ever bought the like Jawser size?
I've seen the like
Yeah.
alpha jaw or whatever where
Yeah.
it just looks like
What?
a big doggy chew toy.
Yeah.
I have not
No,
seen
and
this.
And you just they have levels too, like
Yeah.
easy, intermediate, hard, advanced.
The ad I saw said it'll take you from a 6 to a 9, like in looks.
My
Yeah.
wife would love that.
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
jaw would be so powerful.
Yeah.
Just put your
That's probably leadership quality.
Good jaws.
Effective jaw lines probably make you a
Yeah.
better leader.
I bet people have been voted in as leaders because of their
Of their
jawline.
jawline.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Salt was
Hopefully not
What is
height.
this thing made out of?
rubber.
So it's a rubber chew toy.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a
a-
doggy chew
yeah.
toy for people who want a better jawline.
Yeah.
I think I'll just get some beef jerky.
That may work.
He's
It
got
tastes
that
better.
Jack Link's jawline.
Sasquatch.
Slim Jim.
Sasquatch.
Dennis, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course. If you don't know, Dennis is going to be at ShopCon coming up
You
in like a month.
Oh.
Coming up in like a month, right? No, 2 months. That's what I
Yeah.
meant by a month. No, 2 months. A month?
No.
A month.
No.
Month and a half.
Wow.
A little
Yeah.
over a month.
We're here.
Let's go.
It's
Oh, it's
getting
the
here
20th.
quick.
It is the 20th. Yeah.
Month
It's
and
here.
9 days.
Quick.
Yeah.
Shop
Let's go.
con.
Let's go. If
do
you
it.
haven't registered, jump online, register. You got 10 days to register to make sure you get a t-shirt.
Yeah.
And I know you want a t-shirt.
You do.
So, yeah.
I want a t-shirt.
Yeah. Have you
We're
registered
making-
yet?
I haven't. I should
Uh-oh.
do that.
Well, you
Uh-oh.
better hurry.
I got
You're
10
not
days
good.
left?
Yeah, you got 10 days to make sure you get a
Do it
t-shirt.
9.5 days from now.
Yep. Perfect. You guys have a good day.
Peace out.
Peace out,
Deuces.
everybody.